Hi, I'm Father Tom Gibbons of Paul's Productions.
And I'm Maggie McKay.
And together we are your Candid Catholics co-hosts. And while we talk a lot on the show, we also listen to one another, to our guests, and to all of you. This is a conversation, not a sermon. If you want to hear a sermon, I am regularly at Mass on Sundays.
That's right. Absolutely. And even though the subjects we get into aren't always easy, we still have fun hearing different perspectives, of course, and digging deep into important issues. In fact, Father Tom, I thought we could start today's episode with a Catholic trivia pursuit question. Are you up for it?
Ooh. Yeah,
let me see how many hints you need before you get the answer.
I'm hopeful. Hopefully I'm not going to embarrass myself, because sometimes I think, oftentimes people think because of what I wear around my neck that I know more than I know
but this
more
is Catholic trivia, so you do know.
Okay, I might, but I might actually be better with Star Wars trivia, but we'll see. I'm going to give it my best shot.
Well, I didn't know the answer, actually. Okay. But here we go. I was born in New York City in 1819. I lived on the transcendentalist commune Brook Farm in the 1840s. No? Doesn't ring a bell yet?
No, I know what you're talking about. No, it's an easy answer for me.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go through the rest of them, and you can pretend like you don't know. How about that?
So okay. Wow. Who is that guy? Wow.
Yeah. So we can learn something. Okay. See, I met and was influenced by Ralph Waldo Emerson, Bronson Alcott, George Ripley, and Margaret Fuller. I believed strongly in the power of music and felt that the power of melody could penetrate hearts faster than argument alone. I founded and wrote the Catholic World magazine. I am the founder of the first men's religious community in the U.S. My cause for sainthood was formally opened in 2008. Who am I?
Let's see. Henry Winkler. The Fawn. No. He's Jewish anyway. Henry Winkler's Jewish. No, that is the founder of my religious community, the Paul's Fathers, Father Isaac Hecker. Servant of God, Isaac Hecker. Correct. Servant of God. He's on his way to sainthood. So, yes, I have to be
How many did it take you? Two hints to get that?
When you said 1919 in New York City, I was like, well, I did a documentary about Isaac Hecker. So
okay. So there you go. So he's a He's a perfect historical figure to kick off today's episode, I think.
Absolutely.
It's all about toxic polarization in the church. That's what we're going to talk about today. And Father Tom, you're something of an expert on toxic polarization. Can you give us some information on what that terminology actually means?
Well, let me just clarify. When I say I'm an expert on toxic polarization, that does not mean that I'm really good at being toxic and polarizing to other people.
We got that.
I mean, there have been times in my life when I have been very good at that. So I don't want to completely misrepresent myself. Sometimes, but toxic polarization, I've gotten to focus more in my ministry on this topic, and there is a way in which culturally we've always disagreed with one another. Look, there's always been right and there's always been left. There's always been people who feel on a level 10 on one level on one issue and a level 1 on the same issue. And then there's been a whole bunch of people in between. Like there's been a bell curve. What we've noticed over the last 10, 20, maybe 30 years is where we used to have like a nice bell curve about how people maybe felt about any variety of issues, whether it was in the church, whether it was in politics. What we've noticed is that bell curve has started turning into like a two-humped camel, where like the extremes have gotten stronger, but like the middle has kind of hollowed out. And of course, on some issues, there really is right and wrong. So I don't want to say every answer to a debated question should be the one in the middle. I don't think that's correct. But I think that we have lost the ability to disagree well and
that's a good way of putting it.
Productively. So it's almost become a little bit less about what do people disagree on as to how do we go about disagreeing, and can we still see other people's humanity in the midst of a disagreement. It's been more and more challenging over the last number of years, whether it's been in media, social media, what's been accepted language. It's been the media that we consume that, I've certainly been guilty of,
Right.
consuming a particular kind of media that only agrees with my perspective. So I end up thinking that people who don't think this way are idiots or morally wrong or what have you. And
Right.
so our community, the Paulist Fathers, as well as other people of goodwill that we're going to talk with today, have realized that this has become a larger problem than just winning the argument or winning the issue. So
Right.
it's one of the
And
reasons I'm really happy to talk to our guest coming up today.
Tim Busch of the Napa Institute.
All right.
You've been working with him and other Paulists and Jesuits to bridge the divide, so to speak, in opinions about Catholicism in an effort to unify the church. So let's meet him.
I have to admit, I was a little concerned about introducing Tim because when I went online, there's just so much stuff that I was like, well, I could spend all the time talking about all the things that Tim has been involved in, but then we'd run out of time for the podcast. So I'm just going to hit a couple highlights. So Tim Busch is the founder of the Busch Firm, which does estate and tax planning. He's the CEO of the Pacific Hospitality Group that operates hotels all across the country, including Koakia in Kauai, where Tim is located now, as we can see by the Hawaiian shirt. And he's probably one of the things he's best known for in Catholic circles is the founder of the Napa Institute, which it's been about 10 years, Tim? Was that about right?
About 15.
Bringing Catholic leaders?
15 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bringing Catholic leaders together from all over the country. If I'm correct, it started off in Napa, but now it's kind of been a series of talks and a series of gatherings throughout the year in different parts of the country. So we're just really happy to have Tim Busch here with us so we can talk a little bit about what this new era in the church might look like and hopes and dreams. So thanks so much for coming on, Tim.
Thank you for having me.
I want to hear more about the Napa Institute, but I also want to start at the very beginning. You were taught by Dominican sisters in Michigan until 6th grade, right? And then you went to Mass every day in grade school. Is that right?
Yes. They had a lot of influence on me. Adrian Dominicans, which are real close in proximity to the Ann Arbor Dominicans. And the Ann Arbor Dominicans are very much like what the Adrian Dominicans were in the 1950s and 60s when I was in elementary school. So they had a major impact on me.
And then in your 30s, you kind of came back to going to Mass every day.
Daily. Yeah, I was always going every Sunday, but not as committed to the daily Mass until I was in Legatus at age 35. And I witnessed Tom Monahan among one, but many of the CEOs in Legatus who attended Mass daily, which was not something I was familiar with for people that led companies and were busy schedules. And so I got back into it then and continue to this day.
So for people who don't know what Legatus is, can you just explain?
Yeah, Legatus was one of the first lay apostolates that was formed in the 80s by Tom Monahan, the founder of Domino's Pizza. That's what he's most famous for. But he also founded Ave Maria University down in Florida, the law school down there. And it's for Catholic CEOs. And so the idea was if we could convert and immerse Catholic CEOs, we can impact companies, in their leadership. And it's been very successful. It's been around for over 30 years. And Tom, 88 years old, is still alive. And it sort of was modeled after the YPO, Young Presidents Organization, that it's a secular organization that you join if you're a CEO under age 40. My son actually belongs. And then when you're 50, they sort of, you time out. And so there was no organization, there is now, but there wasn't then, that you went to. So you were just, all your friends scattered. So he said, hey, why don't I start at age 50, an organization for Catholic CEOs instead of just CEOs. And that's what he did.
And so the Napa Institute, you call it a Catholic lifestyle organization. What inspired that? And tell us a little bit about it.
I'm in the hospitality business. I'm a tax lawyer by training, as Father Tom mentioned, but my real passion is hospitality. And I enjoy people. I enjoy engaging people, and hospitality matters. And the Napa Institute was inspired by Legatus, but it started out as a conference similar to Legatus's annual conference, and I scheduled it 6 months later so it wouldn't conflict or compete. And I didn't realize what I was getting involved with, but the Holy Spirit stormed me with people after the conference who were just on fire and said, "We need to keep this going all year." And I'm like befuddled. I said, I only wanted to do a conference. I didn't know there was going to be anything more. And we didn't have any staff. Today we have 13 staff members. And I coined it a lifestyle organization because what it's really intended to do is to help the participants. And nobody's a member; they just participate in whatever they want to participate in, and it's priests, religious, bishops, lay people, all kinds. And it becomes a lifestyle because when people come to the conference, they witness this incredible zeal for the faith, and they say, "Hey, I'm not alone," and maybe they feel alone in their own parish. They also see an incredible diversity of robust presentations on the faith that you're just not going to witness when you go to your parish, no matter where you are, because you just don't have, you kind of have to preach to the least common denominator. You can't be at a high level bringing in-depth scripture teachings, which many of us are capable of understanding if we get it in bite sizes. And so that's what we do. But we also create an opportunity for fraternity among the laity and among priests that otherwise may not exist. And so we start to hang out with friends that are equally committed to the faith. And that's why it's a lifestyle. It's meant to not be on Sunday. This part of your whole life is the faith. And we want to immerse that faith in your businesses and in your friendships and everything else that we do.
Yeah, no, it was last year was the first time I got to go. And it also, one of the things that really struck me is it was, you talked about one of your passions for hospitality. And I know that was something that was so evident at last year's Napa. I mean, I'm sure all the Napa conferences, but my experience was just that real sense of hospitality that's provided at the conference, and just those opportunities just to meet with people all over the country. I mean, it's really incredible just to see committed Catholics and just coming from all over. Prayer. I was meeting some people that I already knew, and it's exciting. I'm excited for what this Arts Institute is going to look like. So it's going to be like kind of a film festival. So how did that get started?
Well, I've been thinking about it for a while. Tim Gray from Augustine Institute mentioned this idea to me probably 10 years ago. But, Mark Rolina, along with your help and the help of many of our actors and production people, they kicked it off. And really, I think it's going to be probably small this year. Like the original Napa Institute was about 140 people. That's probably what we're going to have this year, although it could be more. And but I tell you, this is going to have legs. The society has become so woke, and the wokeism is a form of pagan religion that promises utopia without eternal salvation. It's more of we're all gods, and we can create a better society through legislation, and we abandon our faith. And what's happened is in the films that are produced, and you're in this business, and Paulus has been in this business for 75 years, whatever it is. And so, but frankly, it hasn't, other than Paulus, I don't think there has been a faith-based organization that's focused on filmmaking until the last 10 years. And now you're seeing funds being created and various companies producing films. Most of them probably don't make economic sense yet, but ultimately you need to dial in the content that will be big screen warranted, Netflix warranted, but sell faith and values, family values, because they're just non-existent. Every single film, play, whatever I go to, they try to weave in wokeism as part of it. And you kind of stomach it. You kind of say, okay, it doesn't bother me because I'm solid. But what about the people who aren't, especially children? And so I think the pendulum is swinging. I think people are fed up. I mean, we have the likes of Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg and, Hollow and EWTN's getting into this space. The movies in the past have been about saints, and they've been not well produced. The content's been good, but people don't watch them as a entertainment. It's more educational, and so I do think it's important that we invest, just like the secular movies do. And so I think the Arts Festival is to recognize and to bring those people together. What we've done at Napa Institute is probably hundreds of lay apostolates have been funded through Napa Institute donors, and they've been merged together through relationships because you have 75 lay apostolates there. Well, the same thing is going to happen with these movies. You're going to get the actors, you're going to get the writers, you're going to have hopefully sessions on how do you invest in a movie and how do you make a movie and do it efficiently. In other words, let's not waste millions and millions of dollars. Let's invest our money like we would in any investment wisely to get the best product we can for the least amount of money without, not producing junk, but producing quality.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I got you. I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah, because it's great to be kind of coming in on the ground floor. We should probably talk about like how you and I got to know each other.
We were invited to this conference in April of 23, in Las Vegas, which I couldn't go to, but I sent a representative, Rich Losing, and it was like remarkable. I mean, you guys were in the same space as we were, and we didn't even know it. And so I was fortunate to meet Father James Martin many years ago. It was probably 6 or 7. And just because he and I are painted into different corners of the church, I thought, I'm going to meet this guy because, what I read about him, it can't be true. And so I met him, and we've hit it off. And we ideologically, I'm sure, differ, but there's a lot we don't differ about. And he's very kind, gentle, intelligent, and very much a kingmaker when it comes to the church world. And it's with his help and yours, the Paulist priest, that we've actually been able to get people from the progressive side of the church to even meet with people that would be considered conservative. And so
you just talk about what is the salon dinner. Can you just explain what it is?
So it's really innocent. I mean, we start off with a mass, we pray the rosary, we have a reception, we have a dinner. We ask, there's generally 12 to 14 people present. Half are what we would term progressives, and half would be conservatives by their own designation. And but it isn't like a food fight where we get together and yell and scream at each other. It's the opposite of that. It is intended simply to talk about our lives and our roles. And what I've found is, when we had major media, we had 3 television stations and 1 newspaper, it was journalism was a little bit more civil. Today, you can say anything you want on social media. You don't get sued, and you can lie about people. It doesn't matter. There's no protection, apparently. And what's developed this polarization partly was the ability for people to say angry and nasty things, and then start painting people into corners that don't exist. And so the salon dinners are to unpack and start developing relationships. So we've had pretty much everybody from the leadership of the America magazine, which is arguably the leading magazine for the Catholic Church in America, maybe the world. It's been around for many, many years. And boy, when you sit around and each person gives their scripture verse that they most relate. Mine is in Duc in Altum, put out into the deep, and explain why. And they talk about their lives in a short order. And you realize these people are all committed to their faith. They may differ with us on certain things like Somebody might believe in the death penalty and spend their whole life trying to prohibit the death penalty from being used, and others not so committed to that. But it's really been wonderful, and it's been helpful for the Napa Institute and myself in particular to be able to get my persona in front of people who were otherwise would not come to the Napa Institute because they think it's too ultra conservative, and B, believe what they've read in the media, that somehow I'm intolerant of people of different ideas. And so it's been helpful for that, and it's been helpful for me to meet people like James Martin, who, and yourself, who, and Father will, and so we just meet people that we otherwise wouldn't exchange fraternity with, and that's been a great thing.
Can we go back? Can we go back to wokeism a little bit?
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, if somebody was at a salon dinner and they were a very good Catholic, but they were also woke, how do you handle that? I mean, if they believe, everything, like you said, everywhere you look today, people are woke and no one wants to say anything. But if they actually believe it, but they're also a good Catholic and they're at a salon dinner, how would that conversation go?
Yeah, it's more implied as opposed to articulated because, people are, familiar with the boundaries that exist. First of all, church teaching, on these issues. And, the elephant in the room is, do you believe in same-sex relationships or don't you? That's probably the elephant in the room. I wouldn't call that per se wokeism. I mean, wokeism is like, you don't even believe in God. You believe you're God and that we're going to create utopia on earth. And this is really the religion of the day, as Monsignor James Shea wrote in his book. This is no different than communism, socialism, Maoism, Nazism. This is just another ism that has been created out of thin air and then embraced by, in our case, the United States government to legislate a new faith and try to interfere with the ability to be Christian. And so getting back to your question, we don't get into food fights about that issue, but it becomes evident, when people explain their background and what they do in their faith, or for maybe they're Catholic professionals ministering to folks that are in same-sex attraction, like James Martin is. I mean, that's his primary goal, is to reach out to those in the LGBTQ community.
Pew Research came out with something in April of last year, a poll, and they said 59% of U.S. Catholics said that abortion should be legal in all or most cases. 59%.
It's scary. The Catholics have historically followed the secular society. In other words, if you were to poll the secular society, it might be slightly higher than 59%, but it's not much different. It's a tragedy. It's a scandal. Look, I know not all of us are as strong about abortion as maybe I've come to be. And each child has a specific DNA created by God in his image and likeness. And whether all of us in one way or another have probably been complicit with abortion. But that's why I think the mercy of God allows somebody who has even had an abortion to go to confession and to receive eternal salvation. That's the beauty of our faith. But we must speak out openly about it. And this is an area that I feel very comfortable pushing forward. And I just think it was a civil right under Roe v. Wade, but it really wasn't. Roe v. Wade was a wrongly decided case. And, this is why 59% of Americans feel stronger about abortion now after the Dobbs case than they did before the Dobbs case, because before, everybody had the right to abortion under Roe v. Wade, and so they could easily be against abortion themselves because it was safe, because the government endorsed abortion. Now, under Dobbs, states like Florida and Texas and the like are restricting abortion. They're cutting abortions by 150,000 people a year. And it's becoming the more moral compass that, wait a minute, the government doesn't always endorse abortion. Why is state of Florida saying you can't have an abortion after 6 weeks? So people are asking the question, well, maybe there's something wrong with abortion. And I know that sounds really trite, but believe me, that's where I was in 1973. And that's where a lot of people are right now. They don't understand the damage that we're doing to our society.
Hey, everyone, that's all for this part of our conversation with Tim Busch. Join us next time for the conclusion. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. God bless.